Friendship supreme. Friendship supreme. Finding the geek within.
Hey everybody, I'm Michael.
This is Cleve.
This is Stephanie.
And welcome back to another exciting episode of Friendship
Supreme. Oh, yes.
That was much louder than I thought it was going to be.
One of the podcasts that dares to ask, is Die Hard really a Christmas movie?
So, I don't want to get into that yet. I think we'll save that for the end. But I have my theory on whether I think it is or isn't. Because, you know what? We'll get into it now. So, I don't know if you guys know this, but there was a roast of Bruce Willis. And Bruce Willis was like, it's not a Christmas movie. But you're not the director. You didn't write the novel that it's based on. So what do you know?
Bruce Willis doesn't have a say.
Yeah.
The problem is it's like a gateway drug here, okay, guys? Because people want to say it's a Christmas movie because they're like, that way they can say that they want to watch that for the Christmas season. But the problem is if we accept that Die Hard is a Christmas film, that means I have to accept that Home Alone is a Christmas film. And I don't know if you guys know this, but I hate that series.
But it is a Christmas film.
It's not, though. It happens on Christmas. It doesn't have anything to do with Christmas at all. It's not like Nightmare Before Christmas. It's not like the Santa Claus. It's not like Princess Switch 2.
So here's my argument on why it is or isn't. I feel like if your plot is directly affected by Christmas in any way, Christmas movie.
Then how would Die Hard be impacted by Christmas?
Glad you asked. So the whole movie, right? Well, one, he wouldn't be showing up if it wasn't a Christmas party. Number one.
Not true. There is a line where he specifically says, I thought the Japanese didn't celebrate Christmas. And he's like, it's more of a celebration too. Because they just closed out one of the biggest contracts. So
right.
Office
okay.
Party, done.
So at the very end, when him and Hans are facing each other and he's laughing and laughing and laughing, the gun is taped to his back. It is Christmas wrapping tape.
Could have been packaged tape.
It could have been, but it wasn't. And who knows if it wouldn't have been there had
they were in a mailing room. It could have been packaged tape.
But it wasn't.
You can put duct tape there. Everybody's got duct tape in an office.
Christmas themed.
No. So I'm on board with the idea that like if you were to take out Christmas, would the movie still exist? That movie could still exist. You know what can is Santa Claus. Or Jingle All the Way. Those movies can exist. Even Santa Jaws can't exist because without Christmas, how is he going to get a unicorn horn made of fucking candy canes?
I mean, they would just been peppermint. We switched it to peppermint.
The only Christmas things killed this comic book character.
But then that's what I'm saying. If we changed it out of Christmas, then you're saying that it messed up the whole feel.
The villain was created as a Christmas villain. Hans Gruber was a terrorist or a bank robber
who hit when he knew that there was nobody in the building except those people.
Fair.
Mm-hmm. And also, if not, then why are we doing this episode?
No, I just I don't want to accept Home Alone as a Christmas movie. Just like I don't accept Gremlins.
I feel like, not to get super drawn to the side, but Home Alone super is because of Christmas. Because aren't they going all on a trip because
families
of Christmas?
Without Christmas.
You know what's funny is I went into this movie thinking this isn't a Christmas movie because I've never seen Die Hard ever. This is the first time I've ever seen it. And then as I was going through it, I was like, if this isn't a Christmas movie, then neither is Home Alone. Because if you took Christmas out of either one, it could be. And then Derek said, well, they went on vacation because of Christmas. You can go on vacation anytime. That's nothing to do with Christmas. But it has more a Christmas in Home Alone than it does but Home Alone is a Christmas movie. 100%.
Also, I don't know, because again, not to get super distracted by Home Alone the entire time, but I don't know why they were taking the trip, but it can't be cost efficient to send that family anywhere.
No, they talk
No.
about how like stupid rich that family has to be.
And didn't the guy pay for the dad in Home Alone pay for everything?
Everybody's airfare, everybody's trip.
What is his job?
In both
He works for the Nagatoli Plaza.
and he works at Nakatomi. And not only that, but like he's the only worker in that whole entire, like nobody else has an income. Anyway.
So Die Hard.
Die Hard.
Based off the novel, Nothing Lasts Forever. Stephanie, you said that you have not seen it. I was telling Michael, I honestly don't think that I've watched it all. We're not to blame for that. This movie was made in 1988.
That's the year I was born.
Right. I was one. So what are your thoughts and feels, and what were you thinking? Start us off. Anything you want to mention? Go.
So I feel like if you took Christmas out of it, it would affect parts of the movie, which make it kind of a Christmas movie, but like I wouldn't say it's a Christmas movie. I think that people want to call it a Christmas movie because they want to be like, oh, it's my action movie and I want to watch it for Christmas kind of thing. But I don't completely disagree with them wanting to watch it during Christmas. They can watch whatever they want, but I don't think it's like not a Christmas movie. I'm not on that like 100% against.
How about this? Is it a holiday movie?
I guess it could be a holiday movie.
Because with the same concept of if it's not Christmas, this movie could still go on. Is it easily plugged in with just other holidays? Could Santa Jaws just be a skeleton? And
so much better.
And it had been for Halloween.
That would have been so much better.
Check out our episode on Santa Jaws. Michael put it right here. He didn't do it last time.
I can update it. I need to go.
But,
I need to show you how to do that so that you can do it too.
But you put it right there.
Okay. Somewhere here.
But Christmas was consistently woven into the storyline.
At one
With,
point,
like-
I needed him to have Santa pants on while he was doing some of the stuff he did. Could he have done that? And
That would have been funny.
What about when he sent the guy down the elevator and he was like, "Nah, I got a machine gun. Ho ho ho!"
Oh, and he wrapped him up in Christmas tree lights, put a Santa hat on him.
What would he have tied him up with, Michael?
That's fair.
Had there not been Christmas lights?
That's fair.
It's
And
so
Christmas movie done.
All for that one
This is like the
scene.
Disney Princess episode all over again. You gave me one piece of evidence, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm in.
Yeah.
And the only reason why he was there was because it was Christmas. He was going to go home and see his
Apologize
kids
to
for
his wife.
Christmas. Yeah.
Which I feel like you don't have to wait for the holiday for that, but whatever.
Yeah, he
So
needed 6 months until the holiday happened.
I don't know if either of you knew this. Nagatomi Plaza it's a fictional place, but it's a real building.
Mhm.
It's 20th Century Fox headquarters,
Yep.
Didn't know that.
and they made them pay rent to shoot the movie.
It was not even fully constructed yet.
Yes,
They were using the floors that were not used yet.
which is so wild to me. Michael watched the whole documentary on this movie.
I did. It was not on purpose. Like I was telling Cleve, it wasn't on purpose. It was right after the Ghostbusters documentary, which was on purpose because I was really interested to learn about Ghostbusters. But yeah,
tell
I
us-
heard. Yeah, no, it was just interesting. So like they were sitting there going, where's this building going to be placed? They're freaking out trying to find locations, and one of the guys walks out and goes, well, I mean, it's right there. Like we own this building, and sure, I mean, Fox is the one that was making the film, and they're like, okay. Something I thought was interesting was that, like Cleve said, it's based off of that movie. Nothing ever changes, or everything.
Nothing lasts forever.
Nothing lasts forever. That's what it was. That at the end of that book, he loses his 30-year-old daughter. He's like a 60-year-old man, and his 30-year-old daughter falls off of the ledge, and that's where they got the idea for the Hans Gruber scene. Also, sorry.
Go ahead. I don't
No, I
know.
was gonna say, so originally the concept was actually this is supposed to be like a sequel to a different film that Frank Sinatra did.
Mm-hmm.
And Frank Sinatra finished it and was like, I love this so much, make me another one. and it took him 10 years to figure out how to make one. And the author of the book was like, I don't really want to write that same story, so came up with this story. And they were legally obligated to offer it to Frank Sinatra first before anybody else. And he was 60 years old. He's like, no, I'm too old to do this, too rich. I don't need it anymore. And like, thank God. Because he's one of the guys who's like, had they said yes, we would have had to do everything in Rascals. And it was just one of those things that was pretty funny. And apparently they offered it to everybody, every action star that existed.
I have a list of 10 actors that they
shoot it from the hip.
Frank Sinatra, Clint Eastwood. It's all the ones from this time frame that you were talking, like literally Mel Gibson, Burt Reynolds, Sylvester Stallone, Al Pacino, Kurt Russell, which they offer Kurt Russell everything. I feel like everything. Every time I hear like, oh, Kurt Russell could have been this, I'm like, because he's great. Harrison Ford, Robert De Niro, and Arnold.
And
all of them turned it down.
All of them, every one of them. So, and the reason why, when they read the script, was that he was portrayed. So this is in the 80s when everybody's like the Predator, where Arnold Schwarzenegger's jacked out of his mind, Rambo's jacked out of his mind, and they're like this like toxic masculinity. Like it's so over machismo, like big buff dudes. And the script basically read that he was always hiding and trying to get help from the cops, and like he was being sneaky about everything. And they felt that would portray them as weak, and they didn't think it was going to turn out well. And they found Bruce Willis from a sitcom called Moonlighting, where he was like the smart ass, and they got a hold of his talent agent. This is crazy. They got a hold of his talent agent, said, we want him to do it. And he's like, I don't know, I'll talk to him. They said, what are you willing to, how are you going to make, they said, all of the risk is on Bruce right now, because nobody was willing to take this. He could take it and really screw himself over. What are you guys willing to do to put out, make it worth his while? These guys turned around and said, we'll pay you $5 million to do this movie.
Which was unheard of at the time.
Yeah, he became the highest paid action hero, action actor, or actor in general anywhere. So all these people that passed it up were like, holy shit, what did I lose out on? But like it was a huge, and as soon as he said $5 million, the talent agent was like, take it now. And so they went forward with it.
Apparently, Bruce Willis also handpicked Holly.
He did.
Bonnie Bedelia. After seeing some movie she was in, he was like, I personally think that this should be the woman that takes this role.
Yeah, the director and the casting agent were both going down the list of like who's hot of the 80s, and was like, what about this girl? What about this girl? And Bruce was like, no, this one. And they're like, okay. And they made it work.
So two unknown actors just became a star of Die Hard, and now people make it their Christmas movie.
And then they made the second one, and that is not a good one.
The second one was terrible.
It's not great. It's like A New Hope and Force. We changed a little, but it's still the same movie.
They claimed that Die Hard changed the way that action films were made from there on out, and they're not wrong. Like if you look at the formulas, it is a lot different. One interesting tidbit, and I'll stop talking because I talk too much. Was that when they originally started showing the trailer for this film, people laughed when they saw Bruce Willis get on there and then began booing. Like there were newspapers that were writing about how people would just boo at the trailer. So much so that the entire marketing team went out and took every single poster they had of Bruce Willis next to the iconic scene of or the picture on the most of the covers where it's his face and the Nakatomi Tower. Took his face off of all of them. And it's just a building. And so like nobody really knew what this movie was about. And then once it came out and started doing so well, then they put his face back on there. But it was just, that was interesting that people were so not on board for Bruce.
Well, you know why? Because you look at him and he just looks like a normal man.
Yeah. Well, that was the appeal to it, I think.
Yeah, right. It's like representation. It's seeing yourself in a character that you could genuinely be, not like Arnold, who is literally a professional bodybuilder.
Well, and I think that's why 4 started getting kind of crazy. Even Not 3, but 4 got crazy because it was like, here's me jumping. The iconic scene from that movie is them jumping a helicopter or a motorcycle into a helicopter, and it's like, all right, well,
Was that him and Justin Long?
Maybe
Justin Long was in one of them.
then it's that one, and Bruce Willis, was 60 years old, and it's hard to believe a 6-year-old man's throwing motorcycles into helicopters. And,
I remember that scene.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's where they kind of lost it was, they went over the top, and the whole idea behind this film was supposed to be the everyday man kind of thing.
Right. Because he was up against a bunch of terrorists, but, I mean, he was a
There's only
trained
12.
cop.
There's only 12.
They took them out one by one. It wasn't like there was a group of them.
It was a believable scenarios, yeah.
Yeah.
Interestingly, the director was like, I don't want them to be terrorists. Like when they gave him the script and he's like, yeah, we're making a bunch of changes, and sat there with the writer and was like, we're changing this. And one of the big things he was stuck on was like, I don't want them to be called terrorists. They're robbers. And that's why it became a whole, like, they wanted the bonds thing instead of like an actual terrorist thing. Even though they call them terrorists the entire time.
Right, the entire time.
But the police and the people hostages call them terrorists. But anytime that the terrorists hear it, they always correct them. They're always like, no, we're not terrorists. We are just businessmen or some shit like that.
Speaking of no name, by the way, Stephanie, at the time, Alan Rickman, too, had never been on screen before. He was on Broadway, and that was it.
Really?
Yes,
Yep.
He was 41 at the time.
Yep, they wanted him because he was well-spoken. The casting director happened to see him at a Broadway show, and he was real high class, and that's what they wanted from Hans.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite scenes that he has is he runs out of a door and shoots a gun, but it's almost like a dance move. Like you run, I rewound it because I was laughing and I wanted to show Jennifer. But he runs out and goes, pow! I was like, what was that?
The casting director was like, I had to teach him how to hold a gun because every time he'd come out, he'd hold it limp-handed and he'd just be like this with the gun. She's like, I had to teach him how to hold it straight.
Did you know that? I don't know if this is in the documentary or not, or if Stephanie knows it. Probably not, because she said she's never seen it. The scene where they drop him off the building.
Oh, I do know this only because Derek told me.
Go ahead. What is it? Say it.
When they were dropping Hans Gruber off the building, they told him that they were going to count to 3 and then drop him, and they just went 1 and then dropped him. So his reaction was natural because he didn't know he was going to be dropped.
Which is great. That's just good directing.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We're gonna go on 3 and bye.
The stunt director is fantastic, by the way. If you get a chance to watch the documentary, it's 100% worth it if you like the film, because the stunt director for that was quite the interesting character.
It's a good movie, and it still holds up today. There's some movies that just don't age well, and this one did okay.
It was a little slow.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it still holds the interest because not tons of things outdated.
Yeah.
No.
Did you know you were talking about the stunt director? Did you know the scene where he jumps for the vent and he misses it and catches the next one was a mistake?
Yeah, and then they liked it so much.
They were like, yeah, that works.
Yeah.
And again, it just goes towards this man is not a perfect character. Like, this is something that anyone could be, not anyone could be doing.
Yeah, they I mean, in a lot of ways they lucked out with stuff like that because they were on such a time crunch. They started in like August, or I think they had like 8 months to get everything done. And the writer that was helping them, because they ended up bringing the guy in that did, God, what's his, Axel, Eddie Murphy, Beverly Hills Cops. They brought him in to do writing because they're like, we need humor. The guy that was the original writer was not producing what they needed for humor, and they're like, we need to get someone in here that's fast-paced, like action-styled humor. And so they brought the guy in, and he was like, I think he said he was at one point in time 5 pages ahead of filming. Like, can you imagine just be sitting there like fucking typing as much as you can,
writing and then just handing out the pages?
Like, that's insane. Yeah, it's they lucked out in a lot of ways. They interestingly, the special effects team that worked on them is Boss Special Effects, which actually is tied into the making of Ghostbusters. The number one special effects team in the country was currently working on another film, and nobody could get anybody to do what they wanted for Ghostbusters to make it look good.
Mm-hmm.
And so like this guy was just kind of digging around like, hey, what if I offered you this work? And it happened to be from like he was headhunting from that top company. I can't remember the name right now, but and they said, yeah, I can do it, and I'll pick a team out. And so this team became Boss Special Effects. So had Ghostbusters never been like, fuck whatever's going on, let me start picking choosing people out, they made their own company, and then that's how Die Hard got made. As far as the special effects go,
I take it back. I said that this movie doesn't get outdated. Smoking in an airport and a gun on a plane really dated when you think about those two parts.
That would
Yeah,
be tough.
I thought that was kind of funny because I was like, how did he get a gun on a plane? I was like, oh, that's right.
Right, 1988.
9/11.
That makes more sense. This movie is not for the holiest of Christians because they take the Lord's name in vain. Like it's going out of style.
They do.
Because really, I could write this movie if it's just saying Jesus H Christ constantly.
That's
Also, do a lot of lines seem like I feel like a lot of it was ad-libbed a bit, but there's some parts where I'm like, that was not a good line.
good writing.
Like at all. I guess it's fair. I found out that Bruce Willis is more German than most of the invaders. I'll call them because I don't remember what they called themselves.
The blonde guy was a ballet dancer.
Of course he was.
Someone
Which
was like,
blonde
I want
one?
the main. I'm sorry, yeah, like the main one, the one that was real angry.
Oh, the long hair one, the one who was
Yeah.
mad that he killed his brother.
Yeah,
The one that your boy got his redemption song on. When he
Yeah.
blasted the shit out of him.
he was yeah.
I shot a kid.
The one that should have just shot Bruce Willis the second he had a chance and not just tried to monologue him.
That
Yep.
one.
That one.
That was another actor that kind of. I mean, he had some stuff, but before Die Hard had nothing big. Was Reginald? The guy that plays why am I forgetting his name now? Carl. What did he play in Family Matters? Carl.
Yeah.
You mean
The guy that plays Carl Winslow. He was basically on. It was kind of like a touching story. Touching or whatever, but like he was kind of on his last limb. Like he was just like, nothing's working out. I don't think acting's gonna happen. And was talking to his mom, is like, I really want to do this, and she's like, well, go, audition for this, and he auditions for it, and he got it, and he's like, I'm gonna do it, and he's like talking about his experience of sitting in the casting room waiting and listening to Wesley Snipes go in there, and he's like, shit, Wesley Snipes is here, like he's seen all these people go in, he's like, I'm just gonna do it different. He goes in there, he's like, I'm gonna be the best damn Al you will ever cast, and they're like, all right. Like a week later, they called him and signed him up for it. After this film, he got to buy his mom a house, a home, or a car, and then he
Reginald Bell Johnson.
Wesley Snipes wouldn't be a good Al
No.
because Al was a regular
He was a supporting
family
character
man.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they casted it well, and he went on to do Family Matters for an obscene amount of seasons, I feel like.
Yeah. So he was in the second one for like a scene. It was like Bruce Willis called him up. It's almost like they just wrote the scene so that he could be in it. But apparently he was teased and joked by like not only his friends but like people on the streets about the whole Twinkie obsession thing. And
It was for his pregnant wife.
right. And so he said that it got to the point where people were buying Twinkies and throwing them in his car or at his car.
Jeez.
While he was inside talking about I knew you'd want some of those and throwing Twinkies at him. I'm like, fans are the worst sometimes. I mean, I guess thanks for recognizing me, but please don't throw Twinkies at my car.
Please don't throw Twinkies at me. That was like 1 minute in a movie where I also say Bruce Willis's life.
Right. I also, whatever. That's dumb. That's unfortunate.
In the movie, since we've not actually talked about that happened in the movie necessarily, um, what was the chief's deal? It was like he found every way to not be supportive about what was going on. Like every way that he could find this wasn't right is what he was trying to do. It
Yeah,
was
they
very
just wanted to
frustrating.
play an asshole character.
Yeah, he did. He was
I don't know.
great.
Also,
at
the
it.
SWAT guy decided to not listen to the chief when the chief said to pull when he actually made the right decision and said to pull the other SWAT guys back. I was like, I feel like if a cop reacted to this movie, they just have so many problems with
And-
chain of command not being followed.
And then they shut down the power, which is what they Gruber and the rest of them wanted. And he goes to the grid man. He's like, "You either shut this down or you lose your job." And I'm like, "Can you fire me? Can
You have this authority.
fire me from my? I guess I work for the city. Like, are you somehow connected to where I can tell you to go fuck yourself and there's nothing you can do about it?"
You know, flying a helicopter and shooting a gun. Yeah, no, yeah.
This
That's
is,
like walking to one of our jobs and be like, you do this or I fire you. Like, no, you can't.
who are you? Yeah. Also, this is, I believe, in my opinion, my first memory of I'm in charge here. Not anymore. You're not. I don't know any other movies
Can't predate
before
it.
this one that brought this up. This is my first. Not anymore. You're not. It's like, oh damn, the FBI is here. Shut it down.
I was trying to think of any other interesting facts I had for you. The Hans Gruber having a California accent was just a mistake. Like they were sitting at the appetizer table or whatever, the food table, and someone's like, "Hey, don't most you British people have American accents? Let's hear one." And he's like, "I don't really have an American accent." He goes, "But I can do a California one." And then starts talking like that. I'm like, "Yeah, we're gonna use that."
So apparently that scene wasn't rehearsed when Hans and McClane meet. Like the first time that they get to talk is that scene. So that way it's like super just reading off of each other. You can kind of feel the intensity.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the first time Bruce Willis and Reginald VelJohnson met was in that one scene. They had not crossed paths before that moment.
That makes sense because they were never in the movie together except
Right.
for that scene. And then the scene where he kills him.
And then I have here where Alan Rickman on the first day of shooting hurt himself and like messed up his leg and had to wear a leg brace. And so any scenes where he's like standing, a lot of the times he just has like a brace under his pants. Because he was told not to put any weight on it by the doctors and shit.
He does sit down a lot in that movie.
He does sit down a lot, doesn't he? It starts making sense once you find that shit out.
Or Alan Rickman.
Let's see what else I got here. Bonnie Bedelia stated that the first thing that she thinks about when someone mentions Die Hard is Alan Rickman. She said the two that became friends and had lunch together every day while shooting the movie, and she expressed how lovely and gentle that he was in real life.
I don't think I've ever seen an interview of him or about him that has not said almost the exact same thing. That
I
he's
know.
just an amazing guy.
Mm-hmm.
He was one of the few deaths. Like normally, I'm like, oh, that person died. I get it. Things happen. Sucks. But he was one of the few that I was like, that's really sad.
Yeah, because do you remember what he passed from by chance?
No, I want to say it was sudden or something.
Yeah, he was 69. Let's see.
Was that this year or last year?
It was 2 years ago.
The 2016.
Oh, yeah.
Dang.
Further.
Yeah. Time goes, man.
Wow. Time goes by fast. Also, this year has been 4 years long, so
That's fair.
anything that happened 4 years ago, I just assumed it was last year.
Have any other scenes that you're feeling on the inside? Anything you want to bring up? Anything that you were like, that's funny or that's dumb?
That limo driver.
He really
Love or
was the
hate?
guy.
I enjoyed.
I enjoyed him. A
Okay.
lot.
Argyle? Yeah.
Yeah.
Our
Because-
guy really punched the guy. And he was like, when I shook my hand, that hurt. I didn't want to do that. That hurt a lot.
Yo, and then he put in the Run DMC. Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved it at
Christmas
the end.
movie.
Like, he was sitting there hanging out, and he's like, you know what? I'm gonna do something. And just fucking pile drives into the
And then like drives out and they're like, please don't shoot that man. Which that's how you know it's a movie, because the LA cops and the black dude driving the car like that towards them.
Right. Well, especially in that scenario.
Right.
Like there's just a limo that comes plowing out of the parking garage. The car would be shot down instantly.
Yeah, he was funny. I enjoyed him. I also enjoyed I don't know if this caught your guys' eye, the minority representation in here. Because don't get me wrong, Paulina, the like maid, she wasn't all that great. But Argyle, Agent Johnson,
The other one.
Powell, yeah, they all to me were really represented pretty well.
Yeah.
Which, it was the 1980s, and not everything like that necessarily reads over right like it should.
I think we had like one too many Coke scenes.
No, we needed more Coke scenes. Also, fuck that guy.
Fuck a reporter
Right.
too.
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he got his though. He caught them hands.
He's just gotten punched more. If Bruce Willis understood exactly what happened, I feel like his character also would have.
I don't know if he knew what happened.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like I don't think he knew that John McClane didn't see that, so he doesn't understand how he found out all that info. Man, yeah, I would have clocked.
Have you ever tried the toes into fist thing?
Yeah,
Does it work?
I mean it's nice. It's like you stretch your feet or whatever. It's a good feeling.
Okay.
The poor man walking around with his glass, bloody feet the whole time.
Why didn't he just put his own shoes back on?
Well, the shit went down when he didn't have his shoes, and then he never got shoes again. I feel like you killed enough people that were like 6 foot that you should have found shoes.
Mhm.
But whatever. Did you know
We had
that?
the one scene where he's like, your feet are too small, and that's it.
Yeah, it's like that was supposed to pacify us. I want to see him like trying on each person's pair of shoes, like, nope, not these, and throwing them off the side. Did you know that he wore like special rubber shoes that look like bare feet for the glass running scene?
So, that makes sense. That sounds fair.
There's a point in time where you can actually see them.
Yes, if you like are looking at it, basically it's like his feet are too big, and that's how you can tell that those are there.
The other big mistake that they left and just were like, whatever, nobody's going to notice, was the ambulance in the truck. When they're all getting all out of the truck, when they arrive, you can very clearly see the back of the truck, and there's nothing in it. And then all of a sudden, there's an ambulance in it, and they're like, "Well,
We put a black blanket over it. You thought there was nothing in it.
Just a black tarp hiding it.
I Chris Angel that shit. Don't worry about it.
Right. The only other interesting thing I think I have for you guys is that the helicopter scene was supposed to be a 2-day scene. Then it became the city of LA said you have 2 hours to do it. And then they did one run with the helicopters. They're like, they planned them all out. They're like, okay, we're going to do 4 different runs. This is the scenes we want from each one. They did one run, and the cops came and said, absolutely not, you're done. That's too dangerous. We're not going to allow this to happen anymore. So the scene that was supposed to take 2 days to film ended up taking 30 minutes. And
I thought that was a pretty good scene.
Yeah, they did a solid job on it.
I don't think there's a scene that I was like, this feels, you know what? No, I take that back. There's one scene where I was like, why is this here? And it had to have been the comedy writer you were talking about. The part where the one Asian thief
Eats the candy.
takes the candy. I was like, what are we doing here?
Oh, that was great.
Wait, what scene was that?
He's just sitting there like
Everybody's
posted
getting
up.
ready and cocking guns, and he cocks his gun and he's sitting there and there's like candy and a
Yeah.
like thing underneath. And he's like,
yeah, I remember that one.
some of
Okay.
that. I was like, this took me out of this intense action completely.
The immediate first thing that the guy said when he got the script or the book when he was supposed to be doing it, he was like, the first thing was, he goes, the top of the building will explode. And that was his selling point. He was like, I don't care what we do, the top of this building is going to explode.
And it did.
It did.
Also, it's just dumb luck this man lived.
Yeah.
Several
Yeah.
times.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll say that you got some skill on grabbing the second vent, but the fire hose thing, you should have died. Had it not gotten stuck on, I'm not even sure what, like against the wall for a second, you should be dead.
Uh,
You should be dead.
that's
It's over.
actually from a scene in a movie in the 30s, like a comedy movie, and they were like, "We know it works because that was in that." And also, interestingly, the writer and the stunt coordinator and the director all walked the whole building together to figure out the layout and had blueprints of this building so that they could like genuinely figure out what it was that they were going to do. Like, and trying to, like, they mapped out. So like he was up there on the roof, saw the fire hose and was like, "Yeah, we're going to use this somehow."
Last three things that I have. The costume department had 16 undershirts in various stages of basically breakdown that Bruce Willis would wear, because he had one shirt the whole time in the movie. In 2017, Bruce Willis donated the John McClane's undershirt to the Smithsonian Museum. And in the TV edited version, John McClane's famous line was changed to "Yippee-ki-yay, melon farmer." So take that information with you. Whatever in God's green earth you can do with that, it's yours now.
Why not just like Mother Trucker or something?
They did get that from the Roy Rogers show. Like, that was a genuine like connection that the writer and Bruce Willis had.
Okay.
Was that they both were talking about stories about as kids they watched that show, and how his catchphrase was always "Yippee-ki-yay."
You know that line's in every of the movies, right? Every Die Hard movie he says it.
I doubt it for a second. That line is in everybody's vocabulary. Like, I don't know that, Stephanie, before seeing this movie, did you not know that line existed?
I knew that line existed.
That's like the Coca-Cola fucking movie quotes. Everybody knows what that shit is.
Final thoughts, Steph?
It's not a Christmas movie.
All right. I guess.
Also, that limo driver talks way too much at the beginning. I'm like, this is your limo driver?
You got to get the selling point of how annoying he is. Michael, you?
It was a really good film. I mean, it does still
holds
stand up. It holds up. I couldn't tell you the last time I saw it. I'm not usually an action film kind of guy, but I think it's a really good movie.
I agree. I concur with those statements. Let us know what you thought about the movie in the comments down below. You can hit us up on our social medias. We have Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, which are all Friendship Supreme, except Twitter has no eyes in the word friendship. All eyes are on the YouTube channel. Check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Friendship Supreme, and also our Twitch, twitch.tv/Friendship Supreme.
I've been Michael.
This is Cleve.
This is Stephanie.
Yippee-ki-yay, mother.